Hi students, today in this session we are going to deal on the chapter Chemical Reactions and Equations. In the previous classes we have learned about physical changes and chemical changes that is occurring in our daily life. In this session, in this chapter, we are going to learn about different types of chemical changes and reaction that occurs after that and some other things based on it. So welcome to this wonderful session of Chemical Reactions and Equations. Before moving to the topic, let's just recall what is a physical change and a chemical change that we have studied in the previous classes. Physical changes only change the appearance of a substance, not its chemical composition. Chemical changes causes a substance to change into an entirely different substance with a new chemical composition. As you can see in the picture, a chemical change has an example of burning of wood. While the wood is burning, fire occurs, and after that ash is formed that has entirely different chemical composition. But in case of physical change, while we cut a lemon into two pieces, the same lemon is formed which does not have a different chemical composition. So physical change does not change the chemical composition, a chemical change changes the chemical composition. So next, what is a chemical reaction? A chemical reaction is a reaction that has occurred during a chemical change of a substance. In other words, we can say whenever a chemical change occurs, a chemical reaction has taken place. So, this is an image that you can see in your textbook. It is the burning of a magnesium ribbon. A magnesium ribbon, after burning, the substance is broken down and is reduced into ashes. It seems to be like a white powder. Magnesium is converted into magnesium oxide. So magnesium changes to magnesium oxide, which means the chemical composition is changed. That means a chemical reaction has occurred. Another example is lead nitrate and potassium iodide. Both are liquids which are colorless, but when both are mixed, as you can see in the picture, a yellow substance is formed, which is lead iodide. Here, a chemical reaction has taken place. Similarly, in case of zinc granules and sulfuric acid. Sulfuric acid is a clear, colorless acid. When you put zinc granules in a test tube of sulfuric acid, an effervescence is seen at the top of the liquid layer, and if you touch the test tube, heat is felt, as you can see in the picture. This is due to liberation of hydrogen gas. So, in the last few slides, we just saw different kinds of chemical reaction taking place with different types of substances. So it can be confirmed that a chemical reaction has taken place if there is a change in state, a change in color, a change in temperature, and the evolution of gas. We just saw different kinds of chemical reactions occurring with different types of substances. So a chemical equation is the simplest form to write a chemical reaction. The balanced chemical equation broadly gives a very good information about the chemical reaction that has taken place. The reactants are written on the left hand side and the products are written on the right hand side, and the arrow is put in between them pointing towards the products. A balanced equation is necessary to conserve the law of mass, which you have learned in your previous classes. Mass can neither be created nor be destroyed. That is, the total mass of the elements on the both sides of the reaction should be equal. How to balance a chemical equation is the next important thing that we need to discuss. So, let's just go on through different examples on balancing different chemical equations. Let's move to the first example, example 1. Zn plus H2SO4 giving ZnSO4 plus H2, which is zinc plus sulfuric acid giving zinc sulfate plus hydrogen gas. The first thing we need to do while balancing an equation is examine the number of atoms of different elements on both sides of the equation. As you can see, zinc has one element on LHS and RHS. Hydrogen has two atoms on LHS and RHS. Sulfur has one atom on LHS and RHS. And oxygen has 4 atoms on LHS and RHS, which means the LHS and RHS for each element is same, which means the equation is already balanced. Example 2. Fe plus H2O giving Fe3O4 plus H2, which is iron plus water giving ferric oxide plus hydrogen gas. As I said earlier, examine the number of atoms of different elements on both sides of the arrow. In this case, in LHS, iron has 1 atom. In RHS, iron has 3 atoms. For hydrogen, it is 2 and 2. For oxygen, it is 1 and 4. So, which means here the equation is not balanced. How to balance this equation? Start balancing with the compound that contains maximum number of atoms. It may be a reactant or a product. In that compound, select the element which has maximum number of atoms. Using this criteria in this case, we select Fe3O4 as a compound having maximum number of elements and the element oxygen in it which is having maximum number of atoms, that is 4 oxygen atoms. There are 4 oxygen atoms on RHS and only 1 on LHS. As you can see here, initial stage on LHS 1 oxygen in H2O, on RHS 4 in Fe3O4. To balance, we need to multiply by 4 on the LHS side. So, LHS and RHS becomes equal. It must be always remembered that we should not alter the formula of the compound. Only the multiplication factor must be put as a coefficient to the compound that needs to be balanced. So here we put the coefficient 4 as 4H2O. And now the equation is partly balanced, which is giving Fe plus 4H2O giving Fe3O4 plus H2. Now the oxygen is balanced. 4 in LHS and 4 in RHS. Now, Fe and H, iron and hydrogen is the remaining ones to balance. Let's go for hydrogen. As you can see, here on LHS, there are 8 hydrogens in 4H2O, which means 4 into 2, 8 hydrogens. On RHS, there are 2 hydrogens in H2. So, the RHS hydrogen needs to be balanced. So, we just multiply the RHS side with 4, which becomes Fe plus 4H2O giving Fe3O4 plus 4H2. Now, let's just go for iron. Hydrogen is now balanced. As you can see, there is 1 iron in Fe on LHS and 3 Fe atoms for Fe3O4 on RHS. So, to balance, we need to multiply by 3 on LHS. So now we have balanced iron, oxygen and hydrogen. So now the equation becomes 3Fe plus 4H2O giving Fe3O4 plus 4H2. Now check the equation again by counting the number of atoms on each side. Let's count together. 3Fe on LHS and RHS, 8H on LHS and RHS, 4 oxygens on LHS and RHS, which means the equation is now balanced. This method is called hit and trial method. But our procedure is not complete yet. Writing the physical state of each compound completes this method. The gaseous, liquid, aqueous and the solid states of the reactants and the products are represented by the notations G, L, AQ and S respectively. So finally, this becomes a very good, informative, perfectly balanced equation as 3Fe S plus 4H2O G giving Fe3O4 S plus 4H2 G. The notations in the brackets represent the physical state of the compound. So moving to example 3. P4O10 plus H2O giving H3PO4. As we just discussed, examine the number of atoms of different elements on both sides of the arrow. There are 4p on left and 1p on right. Coming to oxygen, 11 and 4. Coming to hydrogen, 2 and 3. But there is a small difference in this example. Here oxygen is occurring twice on LHS. So it is not a good idea to start with oxygen. So let's go for hydrogen or phosphorus. This is the main point that you need to check at first. So as we discussed, the compound with most number of atoms is P4O10, but we are not going for oxygen, so we are going for phosphorus. Now we can balance phosphorus. As you can see here, on LHS in initial stage, there are 4 phosphorus atoms, and on RHS there is only 1 phosphorus atom in H3PO4. So we need to balance the phosphorus on RHS. For this, we are multiplying the right hand side by 4 for H3PO4. Now the equation becomes P4O10 plus H2O giving 4H3PO4. Now phosphorus is balanced. Next, we can check for hydrogen. In initial stage on LHS, as you can see, there are 2 hydrogen atoms in H2O. But on RHS, there are 12 hydrogen atoms in 4H3PO4, which means 4 into 3. So here we need to balance the LHS hydrogen. For that, we are multiplying by a factor of 6 and thus making 12 on both sides. Now the balance equation becomes P4O10 plus 6H2O giving 4H3PO4. Now let's check for oxygen. We are going to oxygen now. As you can see, on LHS there are total of 16 oxygen together in P4O10 and H2O. Similarly, on RHS there are 16 oxygen, which means oxygen is automatically balanced. So the equation becomes P4O10 plus 6H2O giving 4H3PO4. Assigned in a physical state, P4O10 solid state plus 6H2O liquid state giving 4H3PO4 aqueous state. Now this is a perfect, balanced, informative chemical equation. Example 4. SiCl4 plus H2O giving H4SiO4 plus HCl. As we have discussed till now, let's examine the number of atoms of different elements on both sides of the arrow. As you can see, for Si it is 1 and 1, which means Si is now balanced. For Cl it is 4 and 1. For H, which is hydrogen, it is 2 and 5. For oxygen it is 1 and 4. But here there's a problem. Hydrogen is occurring twice on RHS. So it's not a good idea to start with hydrogen. So let's go for other elements. As we just saw, silicon is already balanced. Si is having 1 and 1 on LHS and RHS. So let's go for oxygen or chlorine. So let's start with chlorine. As you can see, in initial stage, there are 4 chlorine atoms on LHS in SiCl4. But on RHS, there is only 1 chlorine atom in HCl. So here, RHS need to be balanced. For balancing, we are multiplying by a factor of 4 on RHS side. Now the equation becomes SiCl4 plus H2O giving H4SiO4 plus 4HCl. Now we can balance for oxygen. As you can see again, on LHS there is only 1 oxygen in H2O. But on RHS there are 4 oxygens in H4SiO4. And to balance, we need to multiply by a factor of 4 on the LHS side by putting a coefficient factor 4 just beside H2O. Now the equation becomes SiCl4 plus 4H2O giving H4SiO4 plus 4HCl. So now let's just cross check by counting every element. The final equation is SiCl4 plus 4H2O giving H4SiO4 plus 4HCl. 1 Si atom on left and right, 4 Cl atoms on left and right, 8 hydrogen atoms on left and right, 4 oxygen atoms on left and right. Now the equation is balanced. By assigning physical states, SiCl4 liquid state plus 4H2O liquid state giving H4SiO4 aqueous state plus 4HCl liquid state. Now the equation is a perfectly balanced informative chemical equation. So till now we have just discussed different chemical equations that need to be balanced when different kinds of compounds are coming into action. Now, we are going to move to the next topic, the different types of chemical reactions we need to study. The first one is combination reaction. As you can see from the name, it is just a combination. Two or more reactants combine together to form a single product, A plus B giving AB. Just imagine this is A, this is B. These two reactants combine to form AB, which is a combination reaction. As an example, you can see calcium oxide and water combines to form calcium hydroxide. When calcium oxide is added to water, an entirely different chemical composition mixture is formed, which is calcium hydroxide. Another example is burning of coal. Coal is nothing but carbon. Carbon is burned in the presence of oxygen, which gives C plus O2 giving CO2. As you can see in the picture, coal is burned into ashes, which has entirely different chemical composition. So that is a combination reactions. Simply in simple words, two different reactants combine to form a single product. Next is decomposition reaction. This is just opposite to the combination reactions. Here, a single reactant is converted into two or more products, AB giving A plus B. If this is AB, this is a reactant, it is converted into a product A and another product B. Since the reactant AB is decomposed, so this is decomposition reaction. For example, heating of ferrous sulfate crystals. As you can see here, FeSO4 giving Fe2O3 plus SO2 plus SO3. As you can see in the picture, the ferrous sulfate crystals are like this, which is heated and we get fine powders, which means the composition is changed. The ferrous sulfate crystals are decomposed. Next, electrolysis of water. About this you will be studying in your higher classes. This is simply the passage of electricity into water, which gives 2H2O giving H2 plus O2. From water we are making hydrogen gas and oxygen gas. One is converted into two. This is a decomposition reaction. Next is decomposition of silver chloride by sunlight. If you keep some powders or crystal form of silver chloride in sunlight, it will be converted into pure silver as 2AgCl giving 2Ag plus Cl2. As you can see in the picture, this will be the resultant form. Next is displacement reaction. As the name suggests, in this reaction, one element displaces another element from its salt solution. The best example we have is, you can see here, this is also in your textbook. Iron nails dipped in copper sulfate solution undergoes a chemical change in such a way that a color change is occurred after some time. We all know the color of copper sulfate is blue. When we dip an iron nail in that color, after some time the blue color is lost. The appearance of the iron nail is also changed, as you can see in the picture. This is the displacement reaction occurring here, which mainly makes sense that Fe plus CuSO4 giving FeSO4 plus Cu, which means Fe, that is iron, displaced copper from CuSO4. That is displacement reaction. Similarly, another example, Zn plus CuSO4 giving ZnSO4 plus Cu, which means zinc displaced copper from copper sulfate. This is also a displacement reaction. Next is double displacement reaction. Just now we learned what is a displacement reaction. In simple displacement reaction, one element replaces one element from its salt solution. Here two elements are acting and two salt solutions are acting. So here two elements displace each other from their salt solutions. A typical example is of sodium sulfate and barium chloride. Sodium sulfate and barium chloride combines to form a white precipitate. And now we have another type of reaction here. Any reaction that produces a precipitate is called precipitation reaction. Coming to sodium sulfate and barium sulfate again, Na2SO4 plus BaCl2 giving BaSO4 plus 2NaCl. The BaSO4 is a solid white precipitate which you can see in the picture here. In other words, an exchange of ions has taken place between the reactants, which means sodium and barium has exchanged themselves with sulfate and chloride. Na2SO4 has changed to NaCl, BaCl2 has changed to BaSO4. This is double displacement reaction. Moving to the next topic, oxidation and reduction. These are also a broad small classification of a chemical reaction. If a substance gains oxygen or loses hydrogen during a reaction, it is said to be oxidized. That reaction is called oxidation. Similarly, if a substance loses oxygen or gains hydrogen during a reaction, it is said to be reduced. That reaction is called reduction. But in certain cases, in a single reaction, one substance gets oxidizes and another substance is reduced. These kind of reactions are called redox reactions, which means simultaneous oxidation and reduction are taking place in that particular reaction. As you can see in the picture, CuO plus H2 giving Cu plus H2O. In this case, removal of oxygen has taken place from CuO to Cu, which is reduction. Addition of oxygen has taken place from H2 to H2O, which is oxidation. So, moving to the next subject, which is corrosion. This is a very familiar name. When a metal is attacked by a substance around it, such as moisture, acid, etc., it is said to be corrode. And this process is called corrosion. A typical example is rusting of iron that you can see at your home. If you just view any iron substance, by time the color and appearance of it changes. This is due to corrosion. Corrosion has very bad defects. It damages the car bodies, bridges, iron railings, ships and all other objects which are made of metals, especially of iron. It is a very serious problem since every year an enormous amount of money is spent to replace the damaged iron. Next one is rancidity. When fats and oils are oxidized, they become rancid and their smell and taste changes. This particular phenomenon is called rancidity. As you can see in the picture, a bread has developed different molds since it is oxidized and it has become rancid. Keeping food in airtight containers helps to slow down this oxidation and the rancidity can be easily prevented. As you can see, chips manufacturers usually flush bags of chips with gas such as nitrogen to prevent chips from getting oxidized. So this is a kind of prevention method that the manufacturers use to prevent rancidity. And finally, we are moving to the last topic, exothermic and endothermic reactions. Reactions in which heat is released are said to be exothermic. As you can recollect, in the first stage we explained the liberation of heat in certain reactions. So such kind of reaction releases heat, which is called exothermic reactions. Similarly, you can also recollect reactions which uses heat to undergo that reaction. So reactions in which heat is absorbed are called endothermic reactions.